But don't you
So
think, sorry, don't you think that in her case and in the case of society in general, the idea, as you said, to pass on wealth and raise children, but also because we're social animals and it's nice to be in social arrangements with other people. And
no,
generally speaking, your life is
no, I
for
don't think
most
so at
people.
all.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a myth propagated ever since the time of Aristoteles. So, zone politikon, yes, like humans are social animals.
Right.
Humans are cooperative animals, and I think we have conflated, and confuted the two. We are team players. We are cooperative animals, but so are wolves. So we work in packs. We work in herds, and that is very useful for evolution and for survival. However, it must never be confused with social. It's nothing to do with society. Society is an organizing principle. Society is an invention, exactly like religion. It's an invention. And we have invented society simply because of the agricultural revolution, which separated the means of production, agricultural production, from the consumer, from the consumption. So consumers and producers became separate. And consumers created cities. Producers created agricultural communities. So that was the only reason. And within cities, we invented society. And we invented society within cities because cities were the least safe places in the universe for a very long time. Until, I would say, the 18th or 19th century, cities were the most dangerous places on earth because they have been besieged, pillaged, invaded, and so on. They were targets. They were targeted by nomads and barbarians and what have you. This is why we invented civilization. That's why we invented society and so on. But society relies on a premise. And the premise is there is power in numbers. There is safety in numbers. There is no self-sufficiency. Today, technology has ruined this premise, undermined it. We are self-sufficient. You can imagine yourself passing your entire life only with your smartphone for company, because your smartphone provides absolutely everything. A publishing platform, video production, audio production, you name it. News, entertainment, sex. So it's conceivable. But why are we talking in theory? It's a fact. It's a fact that the majority of people in the West since 2016 are not in touch with other people. They do not socialize anymore. That's a fact,
Yeah.
statistical fact. So if we were truly social animals, we would have congregated despite everything. But it's a fact that people don't. And they don't because there is safety in being alone. Actually, there's been an inversion. While until the 19th century, there was safety in numbers, from the 19th century, there was safety only in being alone. If you were in Nazi Germany or in Victorian London, trust me, you would have preferred to be alone. It was, ask Charles Dickens. Ask Charles Dickens and ask any Jew in Auschwitz. It was far more dangerous to be around people than alone. So there's been an inversion. And today we are self-sufficient and we feel better when we're alone. Any time we venture out, every time we venture out and try to reach out and try to touch another person, we get wounded, we get traumatized, we get broken, we get cheated, we get stolen from, we get,
Well, do you think though that's every time? I mean, sometimes I'll go out and I'll meet up with other people and I have a really good time.
Exactly. As long as you keep it shallow and superficial, the risk is minimal, which is precisely what people are doing. They're
What
keeping it shallow and superficial.
I mean, not like I have friends from elementary school that we have, still deep conversations and it doesn't feel uh shallow and super. I know what you're saying when you talk about uh like there was some study to your point done recently about what how many people do you feel like you could share like your most embarrassing secret with?
Mm,
And the average or the most common response from people was 0. And back in
mhm.
the 50s,
True.
it used to be like 5. So
True.
there
Four
has
point
been that,
something. True.
right, there has been that inversion. But I mean, do you think
No,
necessary?
I'm afraid the evidence is overwhelming. For example, dating among people younger than 25 has declined by 56%. That's Twenge and Campbell. Dating face to face has declined by 56% among teenager, hormone laden teenagers. So dating declined. The number of breakups, typical relationship breakups, has climbed from 2.3 in 1980 to 5.7 today. So today, typically, you would have your heart broken 6 times instead of 2.
Wow.
The number of casual sex encounters today is 6.1 for a male, for men, and 4.3 for a woman. A typical man has 6
I think you
casual
got a
sex
lot of
encounters.
women lying on those surveys.
And actually, in anonymous surveys, women admitted that the number is closer to 6. They're like men. Cheating has tripled in the past 40 years. And you imagine the trauma involved in cheating. It's an extremely destructive. Cheating has been compared to grieving the death of a parent, So it tripled. Your partner is actually almost certain to cheat on you at least once in your relationship, if your relationship is longer than 5 years. Very close to 90%. Moreover, we have a new phenomenon of serial cheaters. So it's disintegrating. All this myth, all this narrative, piece of fiction that that society exists because it reflects some inner nature, that's nonsense. Exactly like the nonsense of motherhood. Motherhood is a nonsense. Sexual exclusivity is a nonsense. Not nonsense, but like an invented thing. It doesn't reflect any innate nature. These are social mores and conventions which reflected needs. We invented them because they were needed at the time, but they are no longer needed. That's precisely the issue. Technology had rendered them both obsolete and redundant. These are no longer needed. Families, communities, societies, friendships, monogamy, marriages, you know what? Shortly, even nations. Nothing is needed. None of this is needed. We've been atomized. We are floating like atoms in Salvador Dali's Galatea painting. We are floating like atoms. The virus just forced us to look in the mirror.
Mm.
It's the only thing it did. It forced us to look in the mirror. It killed 35,000 people, which is a drop in a drop of a drop in the ocean of deaths annually. I told you, in Italy alone, 1,800 people die daily of natural causes. Forget the virus. So, but the virus did force us to spend time finally alone with ourselves, to sever our relationships to other people, to witness inadequacies and shortcomings in our lifestyle and things we like in our lifestyle. Many people discovered loneliness. Go online. You'll see how right I am. Many people discovered loneliness. They say, wow, it's wonderful to be alone. So I think the virus is a catalyst. In chemical reactions, we have substances that do not participate in the chemical reaction, but speed it up. They're called catalysts. So I think the virus is a catalyst, simply, of long existing social trends, which are now going to coalesce and get amplified and become irreversible. I think the virus rendered everything irreversible. That's, of course. So there will be the world BC, before coronavirus, and there will be the world after coronavirus. And I agree with all the analysts and doomsayers and so on that the world will never be the same. not because the virus had done anything to anyone. I mean, to humanity. Virus had zero effect on humanity at this stage. I don't know if it mutates. We'll see. At this stage, had zero effect on humanity, but it had an effect on our psychology, collective social psychology, individual psychology, that is groundbreaking and irreversible.
I mean, there's so much I could dig into there, and I particularly want to zero in on